Hey guys, Lucas Soccer here. Today we are doing another Deck Doctor video. This one's a little bit different because I'm by myself. Julian's a little bit busy today. So we're going to handle this thing by myself. Before we get into the video, homeless merch, it's in the description. If you guys want it, looks super cool. 50% of all of the profits do go to charity. It goes to Family Promise, which is a great organization that helps a lot of people. Let's go ahead and get straight into the video here. Maliss, that's the first deck that was submitted. First things off, I think this deck is pretty well suited to go into this next format. Has a lot of non-engine that's very good into everything else. Like being able to play Impulse right now is very, very good versus all the Mitsurugi decks starting around. Because a lot of the time, if you stop their ability to summon from deck, that just like fully cuts them off of having Murakumo at all. And their extra bodies don't really do anything for them, you know. Besides that, it also gets to play Shifter. Shifter's insane, and then Bestials are also very good right now. The only thing that I dislike, like right off the bat from looking at this list, is I don't like the amount of consistency we have in here. I do think that in these builds you are supposed to try to max out on a lure. I accidentally deleted it from my deck. I also killed another card. Oh no. Wait, we can fix this? Hold on. Okay, we fixed it. Yay! Okay, we're supposed to max out on a lure. A lure is, it's like one of the cards that puts your deck over the top. Droll is seeing less and less play in main decks because Dracotail is just choosing to play like actual 1-for-1 hand traps that help them like effectively take down the board. But also, post side, people are going to be taking out a lure versus your deck anyways because it usually just doesn't do enough versus you. So I think you're supposed to main deck 3 allures to help your consistency. This thrust is in the deck and it looks cool, but I don't think it's really effectively helping our strategy for the deck at all. So let's just go ahead and get rid of that. Talents is another card that's in this list. I think that was mainly there for the talents for the sighting patterns, but I think we should just probably kill that as well. The only other things that I'm looking at here that I'm not the biggest fan of is Bell. I think that Bell is like a neat hand trap, but to be totally honest with you, Bell is almost never ending a turn. Unless they start with pre-preparation, it's their only line of play. If you Bell it just randomly, it's never going to fully end a turn. And to be honest, the Maliss deck has a pretty decent Dracotail matchup. Like you can actually effectively put a lot of stuff on the field through their disruptions and their bounces, and the spell card negate's usually not super relevant versus you. So I don't think that you should be like maining 3 bells in this deck. I think it would be better just to kind of main deck more Bestials, especially with multiple lures in the deck. And it pairs really well with all of your other cards to equal starters, right? Like White Rabbit plus backup or Chessie or a Bestial, those all play together, you know? And so I think that it would probably be better just to try to add more Bestials into our deck. Maybe not maxing on them, but adding like one more, maybe 2 more even would be better. If we are trying to like move the deck towards more of a board breaker approach, which is what I think that this deck really should be doing, we could look at putting Droplet in the deck, even though I know it conflicts with the Shifter this year. Droplet's actually pretty decent into Maliss. It helps you get like these other redundant names out of your hand. That does happen, you know what I mean? Like you're going to have like multiple rabbits in your hand or multiple Chessie Cats, and they're not going to be as free to use. And so having Drop It to kind of put those in the graveyard to where your Bestials can activate them or your March Hare can pair well with them, I think is a good thing. The other thing to look at is Called By. I like Called By as a card in the main deck. However, in this deck, I think you can technically get away without playing Called By in the main deck. Just because your deck has a very good backup plan through Fuwalis. Like if it gets Fuwalis, you're going to give them 1 draw a lot of the time. And your non-engine is going to back up your board so well that I think you'll be okay with just doing this instead and moving this Call By to your side deck. The other thing you can do is you could technically decrease a lure to 2 if you really wanted to main deck this Called By. I think that's totally fine as well. They kind of serve the same purpose, except Called By is like more of a non-engine, whereas lure is more of a consistency thing. They both help you like get the excess draws you need to play through Fuwalos. So let's just leave it like this. This is probably the main deck that I would go for an event. I think this seems very solid. We have 18 non-engine, with one of them being like the best one in the deck in the game right now, really. And like a main reason to play this deck is Shifter, and then Impulse as well with the Bestials. I think this is a very good starting off point. To the side deck, if we're going to go for a thrust package, I think that we should just be approaching the deck totally differently and probably just main decking it. I think that at this point we could probably just take those out entirely. I think the Shifter, or not Shifter, Dimensional Fissure is actually a pretty good thing to play in this deck. It's something that they've seen. Where is this card? Do I not know how to spell? Dimensional Fissure. There it is. Okay. I think Fissure's a good thing. It's basically the same thing that Mitsurugi's doing, to where they're just like activating this card and they can't get drolled. Except in this build, it's just kind of a floodgate that you're applying onto the field, which is totally fine. Like if you can get a floodgate plus like a half Maliss board, the game is over. There's nothing they can do. I think it's totally fine to side the GWC as well. Going first, we're going to need anywhere from 3 to 6 go first cards. We're going to have to take out the Fuas, take out the droplets. And so I think it's totally fine to do 3 fissures, 1 GWC. You can take out all the Fuas, leave in 2 of the droplets. That's probably fine. Versus Draco Tail, we're not going to get any value really off of a double Cyclone. And so Retaliating Sea is probably just the best course of action for that matchup. I do really like a lure with, or sorry, not a lure, Dark Ruler with this deck. I think that it pairs really well just to break the board, and then like you just have enough engine pushes to get through whatever like their secondary or backup stuff was. I don't think Harpies fits very well into this deck. Oh, I just realized we're citing the Radiant cards as well. These are, if you guys haven't seen these are like an alternative starter for the deck or extender. It's a 4-card package that doesn't play any bricks. 3 of them are like a full 1-card combo, and then the spell card I think is the worst one. It gets you to 2 bodies, which are level 3 bodies, which gets you to Cherubini, which is still fine. If we're doing that, we can probably change the go first sighting patterns a little bit here. 6, 7, 6, 7. We have to put GWC in at the same time. It's probably fine. We could probably decrease DeFi to 2 then at that point in time. We'll take out the 3 Fuas, the 3 droplets, and then optionally you can take out 1 Bestial if it's not great into the matchup. Or you can take out 1 Shifter if it's not great into the matchup. That's totally fine. Yeah, we can do that instead. That leaves us 2 spots left. We have the main matchups covered. I think that one thing we should be looking at doing is putting more Mulch Armies in our deck. It's probably just Meows. That's like the next strongest one. I don't think there's room. I mean, we could take out GWC technically. I don't even think you need GWC. And like complete honesty, if you resolve your combo, you should be winning. You shouldn't have to go to a grind game with them. So we could do this. We could do the like 4 very strong like starter extender cards that we'll bring in going first, the 2 DeFis. And that gives us room for 3 Meows, 3 Dark Rulers, and 3 Retaliating Seas to like finish running off the deck. The extra deck is pretty fluid. There's really not much you need to be doing adjusting the extra deck. I will say I don't think the Link Disciple is as needed now. I think actually having a second Lingaribo provides more like substance to your strategy because Draco Tail is like a real deck. And just putting a general Trap Negate on the field is very powerful versus them. So that's probably the adjust I would do to this deck. If you guys think that I did something wrong or you guys have other comments or things that I looked over, obviously you should leave them in the comment section. That way we can talk about it. Moving on to the next deck here. We have Mitsurugi. This was submitted by someone who said that they went 6-3, I think, at Pittsburgh, and they didn't make day 2. I think that Mitsurugi is not a terrible choice. However, Mitsurugi does have problems, and it mostly comes in the fact of its consistency. I see in this list we're playing 3 Extrav, which is kind of meant to counter the consistency of it. But at the same time, we chose to play 41 cards, which is like... It's like counterintuitive, right? Like we're trying to make our deck as consistent as possible by adding a card that does have a drawback to it to our deck, but at the same time, we're just going, oh, let's put 1 more card in my deck because I like talents. So there's probably a better way to approach that, right? Looking at the starters of the decks, we're trying to get to like as much consistency as possible. The 1-card combos would be... Wow, that's not that many. Oh, here's Prayers. Okay. With Prayers, we're at 12 independent 1-card combos. I'm going to always count Prosperity as a 1-card combo. Like, let's be so for real. If you activate this card and you don't find Habakiri, it's your fault. Extrav is going to help with the consistency of that. I think we could probably even move Extrav down to 2 or cut this Talents from the deck. One thing was going to have to go. We need to get this deck to 40 cards. Because it also gives you a better chance to see Fuwalos, gives you a better chance to see Impulse, the reason that you're playing this deck, you know. It's probably Talents needs to go. I think this card is good, but in a type of deck like this that like doesn't really care about Fuwalos, you don't need a super hard card to punish Fuwalos. I don't think that it's something that's absolutely needed. It may find its way back into the side deck as we finish our way through this. But yeah, let's definitely go ahead and take that out for right now. Besides that, the engine seems totally fine. We're playing 3 Rituals, which is probably the best solution for playing this deck. The deck has a lot of 2-card combos, like opening Mitsurugi Ritual, Saji plus a Ritual. Technically, opening Mirror plus Saji is also combo. Let me see. Yeah, that's probably fine. I do think Super Poly is a card that is really overhyped, especially if we're playing Extrav in the deck. Like having to compact your extra deck already, that way you can play multiple of the cards that you really, really want to have access to. But at the same time, like it's making you use your Super Poly before you activate Extrav, which is not always something that you want to do. I just think it's not the right format for Super Poly. It was great at Anaheim when everybody was not expecting the card. However, the format's progressed a little bit, and Super Poly has seen more and more play, and people are expecting the card. With taking out Super Poly, that's going to let us free up 3 slots in our extra deck, which we can go look at later. The next best non-engine for this deck, I think it's probably going to be a Breaker. It's between Dark Ruler and Droplet. Droplet is going to help even out your matchup with Draco Tail a little bit better. It also like pairs pretty well with your non-engine because, I mean, to be honest, your non-engine spots are taken up by Extrav, which is going to like help fill your hand, and so Droplet's going to have more versatility. Let's just go ahead and do Droplet here. And then we are playing 1 nib for the Gallant Granite combo. Totally fine. That makes sense. I will say I would like to find room for this Shifter in our main deck. Shifter is so broken. If your deck can play it, it probably should. The best spot to find that. So, okay, our consistency is maybe a little bit better than I originally thought, right? We have 12 independent 1-card combos. If you guys don't know, just like general rule of thumb math, if you have 12 1-card combos in a 40-card deck, it's 85% consistent. The 2-card combos are going to make up probably another 3 to 4% consistency, just taking like an eyeball guess at it. And then Extrav is just going to be what pushes us up into the like 92 to 95 range where we really want to be. I think we can still actually decrease 1 Extrav here if we are at the 40-card range and be content with our consistency just because of the 2-card combos in the deck. And if we do that, then that would let us move Shifter up here into the main deck, which means we have 4 official blowout cards versus pretty much every matchup. I like that a lot better. Let me see if I can pull up a calculator. So now that we have a calculator pull up, we can actually look at the math of it. Like I said, 12 independent 1-card combos in a 40-card deck. General rule of thumb is just 85% consistent, which is not enough. If we're calculating our 2-card combos, if you look, there is 4 parts of the 2-card combo for like the first half and 4 parts for the second half. I'm not very good at explaining what I'm actually talking about, but basically what we're going to do here is we're going to put this math in here. If you guys are following along with it, there's 2-card combos in the deck, right? There is 4 cards that can be the first half of the 2-card combo and 4 cards that can be the second half of the 2-card combo that don't overlap with each other. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this at 4, this at 4. We're checking for additional consistency, so we're basically looking at what the math is that we open one of the combinations of these, any of the 4 plus any of the 4. We also have to not open a starter in our hand already, or else the hand would have already been playable. And if you do the math here, that adds 4.37% consistency. So now we're closer to about 89, and the 2 Extrav here can kind of act as a 1-card combo, I'd say. This is going to be super loose math. It's really hard to do math for Yu-Gi-Oh! Down to like the exact decimal. A lot of the time, cards that just say like draw 2 and like a super powerful deck like this that has a lot of 2-card combos and 1-card combos, you can just lean into the side of it probably will draw into a line of play. Okay, so 3.29, we need to remember that number because we're going to add that onto the 1-card consistency if we assume that these equal 1-card percent. So now we're at 93.29, which does fall inside of the range of 92 to 95%, which is where we want to be. I totally just said a lot of jargon, and I hope you guys follow along with that. If you did not understand what I said at all, tell me I'm a moron in the comments, because that's totally fair. But basically what I did is I just justified the fact that we can run 2 Extrav if we play 40 cards. And we like Shifter, and so Shifter is like a 1-card combo, because that's all you need to win games. Because theoretically, if you activate Shifter, they should punch the table and leave. So that's the same thing. Side deck, I really like Maliss. I think that's one of the most powerful cards in the format. Just like the Maliss deck, this is citing D5 for going first. We only really need 3 really hard go first cards, but having additional ones isn't going to hurt us at all because we wouldn't mind taking out Droplet when going first. Anti-Spell is a card you should never play in this deck. Do not play Anti-Spell in this deck. Please, 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 please. This is a deck where your 1-card starters will lose to a singular hand trap a lot of the time. Pre-preparation, Bell. Prayers, Ash. Habakiri, Saji, Ash, right? Ritual Spell, Impulse, okay, right? Like, you're going to lose to a 1-card hand trap a lot of the time, which is going to leave you to pass with your non-engine. And if your non-engine is Anti-Spell, you're not only freezing them for a turn, you're freezing you for a turn, right? And so they're actually going to be the ones that get to play the game before you. And so I'm just not a big fan of Anti-Spell in this deck because you're so reliant on spell cards to play the game. So let's take that out of the deck immediately. The other cards we can play for our go first cards. Judgment, that card is limited. If a card is limited, that usually means it's good, so it should probably be in our deck list. Talents for our go first could be something to consider because we don't mind punishing Droll. We don't have to punish the Fuwalos, but we don't mind punishing Droll post side. And like obviously, if we do get Fuwalos, it's not a bad thing to punish it there. It's not absolutely needed, but I think that in a deck like this, it's okay to lean into like the very heavy go first aspect of it. Since you do lose to hand traps a lot of the time, you want to have ways to have a very solid board through them. I think this Harpies can go. One thing I see a lot of people do, and I mean a lot of people, is they will be building their deck, and they will just be going through their side deck, and they go, I need back row removal. I'm going to add 1 Harpies to my deck. That just doesn't make sense. Like, let's be so for real, man. I understand Prosperity's in our deck. There's a higher chance that we see Harpies compared to other decks, but it's not like you're playing Thrust. It's not like you're playing some engine way or non-engine way to acquire your one of Harpies for the back row removal you could want. Back row removal is not really needed. Like, opposed to 2 to 3 years ago, I mean, when we're playing Tri-Brigade and we're like, oh, I want to side back row removal in case I play against Eldritch, that's just not real. You know what happens if I play against Eldritch? I'm going to combo them and make an SP Little Knight, and then I'm going to summon Murakumo, and I'll be fine, right? Or I'm going to summon Dynamundo and then summon SP Little Knight. There's other ways of clearing back row in 2025, 2026 Yu-Gi-Oh! So we can stop putting Harpies in our deck for fun. Let's take that out. We do need 1 additional card for going first. I think that Crossout isn't a bad thing to look at, considering we have Drolls in our side deck, which could come in for the siding pattern to work very well with the Crossout. Ash and Impulse, like I've already said, are 2 very good cards into you. It makes it to where a lot of the time it's going to stop your line of play, so bringing Crossout's not going to hurt at all. This is probably what I would do as the go first side. This also gives you a little bit of room, so if you're playing against a deck that DeFi doesn't really cover, you can leave the droplets in your deck, leave the DeFis in your side deck, and just bring in Talents, Crossout, Judgment, take out the Fuas, right? Or take out 2 Fuas and do some other stuff with it. The rest of the side deck is probably fine. I think that instead of Bells, we should definitely be looking at Double Cyclone. I think that Double Cyclone is a fantastic card in this deck because you want to get your Ritual Spell to resolve. If you activate Ritual Spell to summon from hand, that thing's getting flamed 100 million% out of 10 million% of the time, right? Like, it's happening. It's going to negate your card. So we should play Double Cyclone because it's going to effectively trade with whatever they could have, and it's plus for us in that game state. The last thing here to look at is Wosu. I am not going to lie. I think you just don't play Wosu and you run it down deep, and you just have other ways to out it. You don't really need this card. Like, it's just a fake thing that's needed. I'd rather play another card for Dracotail because that is such a relevant deck, right? Imagine you go activate Extract to draw 2, and your opponent goes, oh, I don't want him to draw 2 cards. Flame. And then you get to activate Double Cyclone, pop your Extract, pop a card, draw 2 cards, and now you have like 6 cards in your hand, your opponent's down 2 disruptions, right? Or you can do that for an engine card to get an engine card to resolve. Double Cyclone is so good in this deck, specifically into Dracotail. It's just worth playing. I think it's better than Retaliating Sea. I understand Retaliating Sea doesn't hurt you at all, and it is very good against them, but I think that honestly Double Cyclone gives a better trade into everything. And with the way this deck pushes into boards, if they do have like the extra board stuff, like they have the Fallen the Virtuous or they have the Sanctifier on their field, it doesn't really matter, right? Double Cyclone is going to be enough to get your Mitsurugi card to stick in the Mitsurugi card trade with everything else. Let's look at the extra deck. We definitely have some weird ratios because Extrav is in the deck. I think that it's okay to go to 2 IPs and 2 SPs. Totally fine. There's no reason to overdo it. Dynamundo is an overly important card. I think we shouldn't give up the extra Dynamundo just to have another IP. It's probably 2, 2, and 2. Gallant Granite as a secondary card. A lot of people were saying they missed this for their 1-card combo. Gorgon, Charmer, totally fair. I think this Galaxy Photon card is totally fake. I think there's no reason to ever do this. If your opponent lets you get far enough into the combo before they nib you to where they let you make Galaxy Photon, that's just means your opponent's bad. You shouldn't be allowing your opponent to, like, being bad to dictate what you put in your extra deck. It's just not a real thing. And it's just not trading enough even when it does resolve. Like, the Galaxy Photon card is just such a poor negate. It doesn't even really destroy that card unless you have a Galaxy card attached to it. Not to mention, you're losing, like, a lot of things. If they choose to not play into this for some reason, the Galaxy guy, like, a lot of time, the ritual monster you put underneath it is going to get trapped. I mean, are you going to overlay with your Futsu? No. A lot of the time, you're going to overlay with your Murakumo because it leaves your Futsu on the field for better follow-up, which means your Murakumo is trapped. I mean, if they droplet this guy, he's just stuck there. Or if you just don't activate a monster effect, like, he's just stuck there. No one wants to have to unstick their own card just to get it to work, you know? Not to mention the payoff is so poor, it's just not really worth overcommitting to that. There are quite a few cards you could be playing instead. A second Typhon, I think, is pretty good in a deck like this where you're just trading interactions turn after turn. We could also look at more like links. I think Underworld is not a bad thing for this deck. This deck can get to a lot of bodies using the Futsu to like generate a lot of advantage, and then being able to go for Underworld to clear the Liger as opposed to having like Wosu in your deck. I understand Wosu's a cool card. It's just not needed, right? I mean, one Lunalight made it to top 8, and I think that was the only Lunalight that made it to all of top 32, maybe even all of day 2. The deck is just not represented enough to really respect it with a side deck spot, but for an extra deck spot in this deck that is already playing extra because it doesn't care about its extra deck, totally fine to play the Underworld, I think. And then we can play another utility rank 4. I think Exciton is a card I've seen come up quite a bit. It just gives you like quick access to removal. You could also look at doing Dugaris. Dugaris just says draw. It gives you another out to like a Liger. It's probably just Dugaris actually. And then yeah, I'm fine with this. The extra deck for this deck really doesn't matter too much. You can technically do like a different rank 8 if you wanted, but it's just not worth doing. The extra deck doesn't matter too much. This is what I would do for the deck though. Let's look at the last deck here, which is Lunalight. I will be honest, I was a big supporter of this deck when it first came out. But as people are putting Retaliating Sea into their side deck more and more, I think this deck may be cooked. We're just getting like accidentally like accidentally collided with the Draco Tail deck. Because every time we do our little combo and we're like, wow, I'm +4 right now. I'm going to cook. Poly. And they Retaliating Sea you. And you lose so much stuff to get to like a funny guy. And then you have to like do really awkward stuff to just get rid of the Retaliating Sea, like SP it. And then you're down so many resources. It's just a rough situation, to be totally honest with you. And I don't like the fact that it's trading with us so efficiently. Let's look at the list, though. We should still look at and give it a fair chance at the deck. I think that we shouldn't be playing 41 cards again. The deck's strong suit is the fact that it can play Impulse, and it can play... which we're not even playing our main. It's Heavy Poly when going second. We want to maximize the odds that we see Heavy Poly. We're also playing 2 Dark Rulers for some reason, which I think the justification for Dark Ruler at 2 is Thrust at 2. But thrusting into Dark Ruler is 99% of the time useless. Like the whole point of Dark Ruler is a good card, right? But if Dark Ruler didn't have this last line of text right here, Dark Ruler would suck, and I don't think we would play it. Right? And so why are we activating a card that kind of gets rid of that last line of text because they're just going to negate your thrust instead of negating the Dark Ruler? It's just not good theory. There's too many issues with it. Let's try to compact this main deck here so that we can get the main deck to 40 cards. I do really like having the Lunalight Fusion in the deck. I think we should probably be maining the Heavy Poly. Bell is kind of like the same thing I said earlier with Maliss, right? Where Bell is just never going to effectively trade with an entire turn in the current format. And that's what we're trying to do with this hand trap approach, because Bell's not putting him on a half board either. It's probably just not play Bell, right? It's play Heavy Poly, don't play Bell. Try to win as many games as we can going second with just like the most brutal, broken card of all time. Put them on half boards with Arnon Engine, with Droll and Fua, and then have like broken cards to support our board, like Ash Blossom and Impulse. I think that's fine. If there was a card to take out of the engine, it's probably Emerald Bird. I know that Tom was like a really big supporter of Emerald Bird. I just don't think this card is absolutely necessary. It is not a necessary card for the deck's performance. I understand there's cool combos that allow you to go through this. You can play through like awkward situations by going through this, but it's definitely not needed. If we just remove this card from the deck, we get to a more streamlined version of what this deck's actually trying to do, which is summon Liger. It's summon Liger, and then if you're feeling a little quirky, you summon 2 Ligers, and that's cooler. But like that, having the bells in our deck, having the Emerald Bird doesn't really accomplish that. Emerald Bird lets you play in super awkward situations, but realistically, like, we're not going to be getting into awkward situations with this deck. Unless you're getting Drolled or Fuwalos. In those situations, like, Emerald Bird isn't even the right card to get you out of them. This is what I would do with the main deck starting off. I think everything else is fine. It's a pretty standard list. There's 2 Black Sheeps in there, 1 Poly. We just need to adjust the list to have Heavy Poly in it, because Heavy Poly is the most broken card probably in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. In the side deck, we for some reason have Lancia in here. I think if we're going to play a card for Maliss, it should just be Meows. I understand that it isn't like as good into Maliss when you're going first, or even when into the mirror match when you're going first. But when you're going first into Maliss, you shouldn't lose the game. The spell trap negate plus the double Liger or like Baguska Liger, whatever you are able to get to, is more than good enough, right? You just have to use your interactions a little bit more correctly. But also, Maliss isn't even that like prevalent of a deck. Why are we wasting 3 side deck spots in like a tier, or like not even a tier 4, but like the 5th best deck, 4th, 5th best deck. Other side deck choices, definitely move this to 3. Thrust is going to be your best friend when going second. You're going to try to decrease the amount of like weak starters. So like we're going to decrease Masquerades, decrease Tinkies, trying to put in Thrust, because the goal is to activate Heavy Poly and win the game going second. The other thing with that is Dark Ruler, because into a board, the scariest possible thing you can do. And shout out to Jesse Smingar real fast. But at the YCS, he was playing against Lunalight, and he is scared. He's done his full combo, right? His full combo. He is so ready to win this duel. And his opponent goes, Dark Ruler? Jesse goes, I don't care. Purification, negate. I've got a Herald. I've got this. I've got that. I've got 100 disruptions. His opponent goes, okay. Dark Ruler? And the only possible thing that you could have to like lose the game if your opponent has Heavy Poly. I don't even know what I'm trying to say here, but like if Jesse's opponent had Heavy Poly, which is what he was like trying to instill fear into him to do, he just won the game. If he activated Heavy Poly there after double Dark Ruling, it was just game over, instant GG's. But Jesse's opponent was just pranking him because he totally bricked. But that can happen. Like if you activate 2 Dark Rulers and then followed up with a Heavy Poly, the game just totally ends. And I apologize for ranting there. I do not have a script for any of these video guys, if you guys don't know. I totally just like rant for like 30 minutes, then chop it down because I talk too much. But that's what I'm trying to get to, is that you should be just trying to plow through their board and then get to a Liger, because if you get the Liger stick, the game ends. And Dark Ruler and Thrust are going to help versus that into every single matchup. Lightning Storm doesn't really do that. Same thing with the Harpies. The back row is really not what's stopping you from getting into the Heavy Poly resolving. I will say we're going to do something that we did in the, if I could type, something we did in the Mitsurugi deck. We're going to put Double Cyclone in this side deck here. Draco Tail is, it's a good deck because it has Flame versus this. If you can stop them from getting to their fusion spell or stop them from like starting their combo, it's pretty much wraps. But if you have Double Cyclone to pair with your Heavy Poly or your Polymerization or your Thrust to get to whatever you need, the game just ends. Draco Tail has no convenient out to Lunalight. That's the only thing that I'd say was making Lunalight still relevant in this game, is the fact that one of its matchups has to immediately admit defeat if that card is summoned, So 3 Cosmic Cyclone, because it just helps you get to where you need to be. Blackout is fine. I think the Blackout's totally fine with the Thrust package, because if you draw the Blackout, there's a good amount of cards that say discard in it. And so it's whatever. If you draw this card and have to pitch it for whatever you need to be. We will have to have 3 generic go first cards in here, which we kind of already have with the fact that we can bring in Thrustman going first with the Blackout and the Talents. I would like probably 1 more generic go first card, and I think it just has to be Crossout for this deck, because you're just trying to get the Liger to stick. The extra deck's totally fine. There's really not much to do with the extra deck. I will say Dempsey is not needed. Dempsey is like a training wheels card. That's like I don't 100% know the lines that I'm going to do through a hand trap, and so I'm going to have him in my extra deck just in case, but he comes up almost 0 times. That's what Dempsey is, so go ahead and take him out of your deck. If we are going to play 1 more card in the extra deck here, I don't even know what it would be. IP is a card they originally played, but that's probably not needed anymore. We could do a generic rank 4. We could do Exciton. Exciton comes up like a decent amount of time when you're just like twiddling between your rank 4s before you actually commit like Wolf to try to fusion summon. That's something that you could do. You could also look at adding 1 more ammo to your extra deck. I think it's totally fine to do 3 performers, 3 perfume, sorry. Just because you want to have more ammo, especially if we're maining Heavy Poly, because we're going to run out of these pretty fast going into a grand game with any deck. So let's just go ahead and do that and call it a day. Those are the 3 decks that I reviewed here. If there was other decks that you wanted to see me review, go ahead and leave them in the comment section down below. If you think I missed something, I totally interpreted a deck wrong, you think I'm bad at the game, which I know you guys already think that, link that in the comment section down below. One more time, I'm going to shout out the Homeless merch. Check that in the description. No matter what, though, I appreciate you watching the video, whether you buy merch, buy spreadsheets, do whatever. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have totally changed my life. I love going to events, signing cards, seeing you guys super enthusiastic about the game. It's just an awesome community. If you guys wouldn't mind commenting, and subscribing, though, I'd appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thanks. Bye-bye.